Okay, so what is a BioBlitz? So this is a picture of a BioBlitz from the Ashtabula County Metro Parks, and they had just acquired the property. The reason that they wanted to know what is on the property is they wanted to know, is there grant money available? What have we got on this brand new property of ours? What is there? So some of you may recognize Paul Pira from Geauga Park District. He is primarily a fish guy, and we had bird people and we had plant people, tree people. And I was just lucky enough to come along and be a recorder, because I quickly found out I was very much out of my league when I said, well, just how many birds can you recognize? And he went, all of the Eastern United States. So I knew I was out of my league then. I just took notes and was quiet from then on. So the whole point is that in a short period of time, what is on the property? It's better if you map it, and the bigger of an area you have, the more bodies you need. And so why would an organization want to do this? Well, there's a whole lot of reasons. Maybe like with that Conneaut property, it's a new property and you need an inventory. Maybe you want to track changes on an existing property. What has changed over time? And another great thing is public investment, because the more bodies you get on that property to take a look at it, suddenly those people care a little bit more about that property, which is a great way of getting education out there. Or you can take students out to a property and teach them what this plant is, what this tree is. So there's quite a few reasons why an organization would want a BioBlitz. Okay, well, why would you want a BioBlitz? Well, I can't tell you how many times someone walks into my office with a dead snake and says, what is this snake? And I say, it's a milk snake. And they said, are you sure it's not a rattlesnake? And I say, absolutely, it's not a rattlesnake. And so, you know, that snake didn't have to die. If you know that it's a milk snake, if you know that that's what's there, then you're less afraid of it. So you go out on your own piece of property and suddenly it's more comfortable. It's more familiar. And you start to notice how it changes, like an old friend over time. And you might also have this inclination that this plant is native. And as you find out, as you're researching it, oh, no, actually, it's not native, but it's okay. And then there are some that you thought were not native, but okay. And it turns out they were invasive and you should get rid of them. And there's no need to schedule something. Any day can turn into a BioBlitz day, like this day that my boys and I went to the Ashtabula River. I find the river very rewarding and relaxing to be at. They enjoyed being there. And once you start participating in citizen science, you're going to join a community that people also like the same things. So you're going to meet new friends. But more importantly, you're going to be the boots on the ground for researchers and scientists. So this day on the river, gorgeous fall day, the boys were looking for rocks they could skip. And I just so happened to look down because one of my favorite things are benthic macroinvertebrates. So I was looking for stonefly nymphs and I found one. So as a citizen scientist, you are out there, you're a big population, you are spread out over a large area, and it's a great way for researchers to find a whole bunch of data from a large area. And from there, they can take that data from these sites and apps that we're going to talk about, and they can start making reports about it. They can put it together so that it can go up the chain. And suddenly now policymakers have a whole bunch of data in front of them to start making decisions about, well, you know, we have an issue with invasive species. What can we do? You know, and I suspect that H2 Ohio, in Ohio, our big push to try and get rid of harmful algal blooms. I have no doubt that citizen scientists helped with getting that to a policy that now is putting millions of dollars into projects to try and protect Lake Erie better. All right, so I sold you on the idea. Now, how do you get started? So we're going to talk about some common apps and websites and some hands-on projects today that are going to get us where we need to be. Now, one big disclaimer that I'm going to talk about is the source of where these apps and websites are coming from. So so over here we have, and I'm an iPhone user too, that's the other caveat I should say. But we did try to share some apps that also Android users can use, and maybe some that Android users have that I didn't think I had, but turns out I actually do have Google Lens. So yay. But where does an app come from is a very important first step in collecting data, because just as you're going to collect data, the app is going to collect data on you. So over here we have Picture This, and it is from a developer called Glority LLC, and they have a lot of data that they are tracking when you use that app. Now you go over to Seek by Inaturalist, they have a totally different set of sponsors. You know, now we are starting to see names that you recognize, like National Geographic and World Wildlife Federation, things like that, that are supporting the bigger projects. And so Seek doesn't link data to you. They're not really going to track you, but I can guarantee that if you're using Picture This or Leaf Snap, that suddenly you might start seeing some ads geared towards buying plants. And some of you don't need to buy any more plants, you have plenty. So something to be careful of. And so getting back to Leaf Snap, over here we see a website that Leaf Snap was developed by Columbia University and University of Maryland and Smithsonian. That's fantastic. Then you look it up on your app store and it doesn't look the same, because it's not the same. This project over here, it was big in 2014 and a little later, but now it seems to be gone, or they're developing it. It's going to be here soon. I can't quite tell what, but this Leaf Snap is actually a company that's very similar to Picture This. So, you know, it gets a little confusing. So you start paying attention to, okay, well, is that really what the logo is supposed to look like? And that's a really good way. Make sure you're paying attention to the developer, so that if A is tied to B, then you can see where this is going. I didn't mean to make a ABC pun, but you know, it happens. It's organic. So if you just need to ID the thing, let's say that you want to write down your data, you just need to know what a thing is so that you can write down, okay, I found a plant, what is that plant? There are plenty of identification apps out there. So Google Lens is an identification app for Android users, and like I said, iPhone users can use it too, and it will identify everything. It doesn't have to be a plant. It could be a Ford Fiesta. It will identify it, and it will find out where you can buy it. And then Leaf Snap, Monarch SOS, there's Seek over there and a couple of different places. All of these things are great for what is it? So as I said, so the way that you use Google Lens is you take a picture of the thing, and then that picture will become down here at the bottom. That will be the last picture that you take. And then when you bring that picture back up, it will give you the option to look at Google Lens. And then when you press that, then it will bring up what it likely is, where you can find it, other options on the web. So you can also open the Google app for your camera and use Google Lens through there. And if you've ever suffered through a CAPTCHA where it's like, okay, I think that this is a traffic light, but I'm not sure. I promise you I'm not a robot. What we are doing when we use Google Lens, when we use these apps, when we use those things, is we are helping artificial intelligence get better at identifying what the thing truly is. So if you are telling them, no, this is actually a plant and not a Ford Fiesta, then the AI gets a little bit better every time, which is kind of scary. And so Leaf Snap, this is taken from a YouTube video by Let's Make Things called How to Use the Leaf Snap app. You can either take a photo or upload an existing, and it's going to give you this option over here. Is it a leaf? Is it a flower? Is it the fruit, or is it the bark? And from there, it's going to give you best guesses, but first you're going to have to go through an ad. And you can get a subscription with this, but I watched several videos with people using the free version, and it just did its best guesses. So if you don't know that you're looking at the Thuja occidentalis out here and you think it might actually be a juniper, then what it's going to do is, here's your picture on the top and here's the juniper down here, and you can kind of pull up bigger pictures and your picture will drop down to that side, or down, you know, wherever you pulled the picture from. And that way you can say, okay, does this look like a juniper, or does it look like something else? And I found that, well, let's go back for a second. I found that this app, it didn't seem to be all that great. There was a whole lot of, I really don't think that this was the plant that I had, you know, and at least this one, the Thuja is the third one down. So they could go down and say, okay, this is it. But I also did not see where there was a, yes, definitely this is the plant that I have option. Now, when you use something like Seek, you don't have to just use plants. So Plant Snap, Leaf Snap, those are just for plants. Seek is going to be for plants and animals and fungus and you know, living things in general. And this is truly getting up into the citizen science range, because this has challenges. So Seek is an app that I use all the time. I use it in the field. I was not a registered user, so I didn't log into Seek before I had to do this talk. Now I'm you know, elevated into a citizen scientist, and I have an Inaturalist account, so yay for me there. But I didn't need that for Seek, so you don't either. You can use this as just an app that identifies and be done with it. So you don't have to take the picture and upload it to Seek. You can, but what I like to do is I will just open the app and I will hover the camera over the thing that I want to identify, and it will go through a series of identification, getting closer and closer to that genus and species. So some good pointers would be to move the phone around the object, get different angles. And if you can, you know, if you're using an animal, if you can find a way to take different angles and kind of hone in and clear the picture up, that would be fantastic. This is a really good app for taking outside into the field, because it really shines with those native plants, or the wild plants, I should say. But I will say, I did take this to the mall that has the tropical fish, and it was identifying tropical fish. So it's an amazing app. I love Seek. And I may be biased, but I did want to say that it has its problems. So back to my little stonefly guy, I took the picture and I tried using Seek, and it brought up that it's a tropical house cricket. Now, clearly it's not a tropical house cricket. And so what I ended up doing was, okay, well, I would like the AI to actually get better for Seek. So I uploaded the picture and I said, you know, I don't think this is actually right. So I posted it to Inaturalist. And that's when I was able to add, no, this is a stonefly. This is a common stonefly. But you don't have to, if you don't know that that was a stonefly, but you were certain it's not a cricket, you can post it to iNaturalist and just say, hey, I don't know, but I don't think this is right. And someone will identify it for you. Because there are plenty of researchers and scientists and higher ups, I guess, that are watching, they are paying attention, and they will come back to you and say, no, this is what it actually is. So another great tip is if there's a lot of stuff going on in the picture and you just want one narrow little thing, try to find a way to get a picture of just that small thing. So I uploaded my stonefly and I was able to go down and say, okay, I know it's more than just an insect. I know it's a stonefly. And so that's all I did. And I uploaded it and there it is. I can say that it is alive and I can say that that was the organism. And I obscured my location. I did end up saying that it was on the Ashtabula River only because I was in a park. So I'm okay with them knowing that I was in a park in the Ashtabula River. But my location, my personal self is obscured. You don't have to, but it's a good idea because you never know who's going to contact you. And you might get contacted. If you have something extraordinary, then somebody might contact you through the app and say, hey, I would like to come out and take a look at this. And if you are not obscured, they're going to know where you are pretty much right off the bat. At least narrow it down to, okay, I'm coming to Ashtabula, I'm coming to Conneaut, I'm coming wherever you are, and I'm going to try and find this extraordinary thing. And so the next day after I posted that stonefly, I had an email that said, okay, well, the Lower Lake Erie Region CSI has added your observation to its observations. So within 24 hours, somebody had seen that for the first time ever, I had posted something to iNaturalist and they said, oh, yep, I want that. And so iNaturalist is, that has challenges in it as well. And we'll talk about that when we get to the websites. And Seek is for a bunch of different things. But if you are just a bird person and you don't know, Audubon and Cornell have really good identification apps. And they also have bird tracking apps. And they're two different things. So if you just wanted to focus on BioBlitzing for birds, then there is a home for you. So Cornell is going to be, the Cornell lab is going to be more for reporting the birds you already know. And they will tell you right off the bat, look, if you don't know what the bird is, we have an app called Merlin. We want you to start with that, figure out what the bird is, and then upload it to this other site or this other place for the actual count. And so you go to Merlin and it's really easy to start. Okay, where did you see the bird? When did you see it? And what size and the color and, you know, what was it doing? And from there, it's narrowing down a large database down to, okay, I think it's this. Monarch SOS, right now it is only for iOS, but an Android version is coming out, is strictly for monarchs. So you can make your reports right on the app, and it'll also tell you, okay, do you know what a monarch truly is? Can you identify it at its different stages? If you can't, here's how. And so it gives you all this information that you can quickly go through and say, okay, well, you know, I believe this is a monarch. And then you can go through and report it. Bumblebee Watch, again, one thing I will say is it doesn't matter what you love, especially in natural resources. There is a citizen science project for you. Bumblebee Watch is another one that's just for bumblebees. So you may want to identify it through something like Seek and then upload it with Bumblebee Watch. This one is the Great Lakes Early Detection Network, and it is all about invasive species. Really great resource for if you're not sure what plants are around that could be invasive. Maybe you thought you saw some autumn olive, you weren't sure if it was really bad. If you didn't know that calorie pears were bad and to rip them out, then shame on you. But this is a great app that will go through and help you understand, okay, no, this is actually an invasive species. And the thing that I really like about this is you can go through an area and say this species were not found in this area, which is another really great tool for a researcher to say, okay, I know I have a spread of buckthorn up to, oh, not this point. Okay, so now I'm gonna look over here for a focus area because I know that this site is safe. So, and I think that's an amazing tool. And some of these apps are also websites, so you don't have to use your phone to do it. You don't have to have that phone in front of you between you and the bee. You can find the bee and if you wanted to take a picture, you can take a picture and upload it there. Instead of your phone, maybe have a camera, I don't know. But in order to see a lot of the data, to see the maps, you will have to have a login for Bumblebee Watch. Inaturalist, we've kind of gone over some of the things about that. I found, so again, you can see a lot of data without logging in. Once you log in, then you'll be able to be part of the community that actually can talk about, you know, maybe dragonflies are your thing, and you can find people to talk about dragonflies. And Inaturalist also has projects that they do periodically that say, okay, today we're looking at, well, for instance, right now with Seek, you're looking for conifers. That's the March challenge. Find things that don't necessarily fruit that you can find in the winter. And Inaturalist is supported through National Geographic and California Academy of Sciences. And so, you know, highly credible and used widely. So, you know, Mary Gardner might look at Inaturalist for new people. You know, she's going to look here for data. Okay, now I know where to focus bees. Or maybe the researcher is going to say, okay, I see that there's a lot of people in this area that love dragonflies. I just happen to be a dragonfly guy. So I'm going to start targeting maybe a flyer, maybe a project, maybe something up in that area. Maybe I should have a talk there and get more people involved. So there's a lot of different ways of using this information. You can also use Inaturalist on a phone, and it functions very similarly. So what this is going to do is it's going to create a list of the things that you saw. So you can upload your picture, you can have it identified, and you know that this is a multiflora rose on my property. And that's going to be a list on your site that says, I know that I have multiflora rose here. It won't necessarily map on a tiny scale, like maybe a yard, but it's at least going to be in the region. And then over here is all a list of projects that you could be in. And you can search for projects, and you can, in some cases, some people can create projects. So this is my dashboard, and I found that, you can get lost in iNaturalist pretty quickly once you start going through observations and going down through things. And over here in this corner is your little profile guy. If you click on that, it can always bring you back to your dashboard. So a nice little tool, because I found real quickly, I got slogged in and I was like, how do I get back? This is a really good way of doing that. But this is kind of what you're going to see every day if you were on iNaturalist, and you can start finding things that you want to be a part of and uploading to. There's a, like I said, iNaturalist is for just about every living thing. So you don't have to stick to monarch butterflies. Maybe you want to do a deer survey, and there's a lot of different things. Whatever your passion is, I'm telling you, even if it's measuring ice or measuring frozen ground, how much water, how much rain, how much sun, whatever your passion is, there's a project out there for you. So globally, iNaturalist, there are, look at this, over 91 million observations in iNaturalist out of 2 million observers. So these are passionate people that take a lot of pictures and get out there and want to see a lot of different things. It can be very daunting, and I'm not going to lie, that might be why I didn't want to really join Seek at first, because I just felt like I don't have a whole lot to contribute. But turns out my one little picture at the river of a stonefly was a contribution that was needed. So don't be afraid if you don't know, if you're not an expert on the thing you just took a picture of, because this is a very supportive community, and they might argue with you if you definitely think it's a stonefly and somebody else wants to argue with you that it's a tropical cricket. There might be a little bit of going back and forth between some people before they finally decide on what the thing actually is. But overall, it's a very supportive group of people that just want to see what's out there. So you can narrow down observations. You can say, okay, I just want to look at bees. And, you know, you can put in maybe an exact date. Only on this date, I want to see what bees were observed. And you can pare down the list to certain things. And if you are a researcher, that's exactly what you want. I want to see on July 7th, how many bees were seen, you know, and then you can track, all right, July 7th of 2021, July 7th of 2020, and go back. So you can see patterns over time, over larger areas, or you can see patterns over time of smaller areas, snapshots at different times. There's a lot of ways that a researcher could take your data that you just went, oh, I saw a bee today. Well, fantastic. And now that record is out there for other people to use, and that might be a very important bee to see. And they have a lot of great data on how to get started. It's pretty easy. You can search for a geographic region for projects. You don't have to go with a global project. And it gives you ways to take the picture so that it makes sense to the identifier. Now, another great project is Budburst. This gets more into phenology at this point. And so they really want to answer the question of how is climate change affecting plant phenology? So when a plant is active, hold on, I'm going to get to it. My slide notes over here, I'm not keeping track of. But when is a plant active? When are the animals becoming active? Are there seasons changing? And this is another great way of doing that. And it functions very similarly to iNaturalist. You're going to make your observations, you're going to upload them, you can be part of different projects. Maybe you focus on a certain thing, but it all boils down to teachable moments. So you can you can upload your data, you can look at the calendar, and then, you know, some of their activities were super cute, like, okay, plant parts in the kitchen. So you're making dinner with and making a stir fry. Now, what part of the plant are we actually eating? And I think that's just a really great way of staying connected, bringing it back down to a smaller scale that everybody can understand. You know, I see kids all the time that don't necessarily know where their food comes from. So this is just another great way of educating them, or educating adults. There's a lot of adults who don't know what part of the plant they're eating. And speaking of phenology and not phrenology, good God, how many times I've said phrenology while I've been doing this thing. It might as well be a drinking game at this point. But phenology, if you're in Ohio, you can use the Ohio State Phenology Calendar. And it's super easy. You just plug in your zip code and it brings up what's happening in your area right now. So if you were going out and looking at trees and you noticed that there were trees in bud right now, and you didn't necessarily know what trees could be in bud, well, this site's going to tell you. And if you go into full calendar, you're going to see, okay, well, silver maples, red maples, those are all right now they're blooming, but there's no oaks. So the tree that you're seeing couldn't be an oak. It's probably going to be in the maple family if it's not like a forsythia. If it's not yellow and small, then it might very well be a maple that you're looking at. So it's just another way of saying, okay, I don't know for sure, but I have a good idea that it's not this. And you're just narrowing down and learning as you go. Another good one is Nature's Notebook. So again, I found that it really helps to log in to be able to see a lot of their data, but they have a really easy way of starting, and they go through very good directions of what to do and how to do it. So it functions very similarly to Inaturalist, and it's just a different set. Here, I'll go back one more. It's just a different site that maybe some different researchers are using. This is the Biota of North America program. So this is going to be more in the realm of a website that you can look for IDs. So this isn't really where you are uploading anything. You are just kind of looking at what's around. And if you go here to this TDCQ, this is what I used. And I brought up this query page, plugged in my zip code, and it brought up all of the native plants that could be in my area. And it's a long list. So you can just kind of scroll through and take a look, and it breaks down. It's a genus and species. So your little Latin hearts can just be content to go through all the scientific names. So the Native Plant Finder is it's a Doug Ptolemy project. So it's being funded through the Forest Service and World Wildlife Federation. And what I really like about this site is that if you were in a project, let's say, and you wanted to find out how to bring a certain thing to your property to look better at it, then you could use this site as long as you click on the name and not the picture. So it's down here, don't go up here. Then you can pull up information like Joe Pyeweed, and it attracts the clemony moth. Okay, well now if I'm in a project that's looking for the decline of clemony moths, then I might want to look at my Joe Pyeweed, or I might want to bring up the clemony moth profile and then go, okay, now I know that I need to plant, if I had some more willow, or if I had snake root, something like that might bring more in, and I could see more. Maybe I can do something to help bring more clemony moths into the area. Something I've used extensively in my career is the plants database through USDA. This used to be two databases. One was the plants, and then there was a wetland list of plants. They've combined it now. It's one great site. The way that I like to use it, you don't have to use the scientific name. You can use the common name. So one of the classic examples is I had someone who asked me to include winterberry in my tree sale. And I didn't know if they were talking about the Ilex verticulata or if they wanted the euonymus. So what I did was I plugged it into the USDA database to see which one of those is native or introduced. And it turns out that obviously the common winterberry is the one that is native and the other one is not. So I was able to make informed decisions. I use this every year to decide what I want to include in my tree sale. I constantly get people who want these introduced species, and I'm just not comfortable putting those in my sale. So I will look this over, and I can see if they are wetland species. I can tell if they are on the toxic plant list. I can see if they are invasives and where they're outlawed or where they are endangered. And so here's where they included the wetland regions. So you can pull up the plants of the Midwest list, and it'll come up with what plants are should be in your wetlands or native to your wetlands. Phragmites is not on the list. Another great one is this Woody Invasives of the Great Lakes Collaborative. I actually, I think I'm going to end up adding some of their brochures to my reading material out in the office, because we constantly get questions of, is this an invasive species and how do I control it? And this website is a great one to go to answer those questions. So not only will it tell you how to ID the plant, but it will also guide you through how to manage it, how to control it, when to do that, when should I cut the stump and dab it with stuff. Sorry, brain freeze. That will go through all of the steps of getting rid of the plant, and then it will give you an alternative that's native. So I really do appreciate the girls finding this website. And so you go down, there's plenty of tabs over here. Maybe you're not quite familiar with what black locust looks like, and it will bring up pictures. It will bring up the list, common traits of what that will be, and how to get rid of it. For bird people, eBird, that Cornell Lab site and app is also on the web, so you don't necessarily have to use the app, but similar setup. So you're going to submit your bird lists. You're going to already know what they are, or else you're going to find a way to identify them. And share your sightings. Keep your lists, and there's going to be projects in there too. And maybe there's, you know, how many ducks can you see? How many different geese have you seen in your life? And maybe you want to, where do you have to go to see the rest of that list? All right, well, I don't want to sit on the computer or play with my phone anymore. I want to get my hands dirty. I want a hands-on project. Lawn to Wildflowers is a great project to do. This one was done through University of Florida, and it was kind of a 2020, 2021 project. All of the information is still up. You can still buy seeds, and this is kind of a self-report thing. So it's not necessarily that it's going to continue to be funded, but all that great information is still going to be there, and why you should cut back on your lawn and add some more wildflowers. One of my favorite things is stream quality monitoring. Every year, Ohio Department of Natural Resources needs people to get wet, get dirty, find those benthic macroinvertebrates, and they will teach you how to do it. They will give you the nets and the know-how to go out and actually collect the specimens, ID them, and then you can put them back in the stream. So it's extremely hands-on, and it's during the summertime, you know, several times a month. Basically, you're going out and you're digging in a stream, which I absolutely love. And the bird feeder challenge, the Project Feeder Watch, it's uploading on the computer or on the app, but it's still you filling the bird feeders, fighting the squirrels, taking the suet down before the raccoons get to them. So there's still a whole lot of hands-on with looking at birds. And if you didn't want to use the website, the app works very similarly. Sign on, add your list, upload it, add pictures and say, hey, look, I got a really good picture of a cardinal today. And you can share that and they can add that to their database. I really liked how they had detailed instructions on Project Feeder Watch. So it's going to go through everything you need to do to properly do this. Audubon has a bird count, Christmas bird count. And in that case, if you find the person in your area that does the Christmas bird count, you can handwrite the list and give it to them. Or you can, you know, they might give you better instruction of how to get it up onto the website. Dandelion Detectives was a last year project. It was summer 2021, but you know, it's not going to be the only community science program that Ohio State ever does. So a great idea is checking with your favorite university and seeing, are you doing anything? Can I help? Is there a program that you've got that I can do? And that's a good thing if you are beyond just your basic iNaturalist setup. And if you call, say, Ohio State University and say, hey, look, some of you have collected a lot of data. Is there any need for someone like me to come in and help you identify it? Because if they are collecting specimens, they need sorted, they need, you know, ID'd and kind of compartmentalized to make it easier for them to write their reports, make their study. And there's plenty of other things. So Ohio ODNR has frog and toad calling surveys. If you know their phone numbers, call the frogs. You know, like I've said, and I'm going to reiterate it again and again, you don't have to be a butterfly person. If you're a spider fan, there's somebody out there for you. You can, there's a project that you can add your knowledge to or learn more from. North America Butterfly Association, again, will tell you how to participate in an account, and it goes through all of the information that you need to be able to register your butterfly count. And we're not talking about large areas. Your yard is fine. There was a couple of sites that said, we don't want you going any more than 15 acres. So don't do any more than 15 acres. You don't have to be a superstar. You can just take this little area and do your observations because somebody else is going to do observations elsewhere. All right, so if you've been a citizen scientist for years and you want to know the next step, then I strongly advise you to become an advocate. So you're already invested. If you write a letter to the lawmakers saying, you know, I truly think that some money needs to go towards reducing lawns. Make it some kind of project to reduce lawns, or you know, you need to look more into climate change. I strongly advise you to make your voice heard. And the other thing is, I listened to a citizen science report from Mary Gardner that talked about underserved populations. You know, if you're hustling to put dinner on the table, you're certainly not interested in counting butterflies. So if you can sponsor a project for some of the underserved populations, there's a lot of data that we're not collecting in certain areas that would be great to have. And again, call your favorite university. You already know you have a favorite bee person or butterfly person. So call them up and ask them if they need any help. So you don't need to be an expert. You can be a totally, you know, clueless person. Take a picture, upload it, and someone is going to notice. The only caveat is make sure that it's a reputable project or site. If you know the name of who's doing it and it's not some LLC, then you've got a good shot of it being a true citizen science app or site. And again, I'm going to say, whatever your passion is, there's a project out there for you. One thing that we're involved in is every year we want to know if the ground is saturated or frozen for manure spreading. And why do we need that? Because we want to know if someone who spreads manure is going to contribute phosphorus to the streams. So we need people to record if their lawn is frozen. We need people to record rain and sun and ice and the different animals, salamanders. You know, it doesn't have to just be about pollinators. I know this is a fantastic pollinator symposium, but if your other interests lie in fruit flies, there's going to be a project out there for you. And with that, we slogged through my 64 slides in record time.
Fantastic. Awesome, 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 awesome. All right. Well, I'd like to thank Suzanne and all the Master Gardeners that helped. Why don't you shout everybody out again, Suzanne, that helped with the program.
Oh, Rosemary Burns, Carol Blake, and Linda Dole.
Awesome. Well, thank you to Suzanne and Linda and Carol and Rosemary that helped put this program together. And now we'll do some questions. And like I said, you know, we can't always answer all the questions, but I think we'll be able to answer a large majority of them. Let's go ahead, and if you want, Suzanne, you can just open it up and start ringing them off.
Okay. How do you map your properties? If you want to do this on your own and you don't want to use something like Inaturalist, then I recommend either you can go to your Soil and Water Conservation District and get a map, or you can use, let's see, Google Earth, or even an auditor's website is fantastic for an aerial map. Print that off, and then you can start circling, okay, I know I have bee balm over here, and I have this over here, and I have that over there, and you can use that map. I love our aerial maps. So, and I know wherever you are, you have a Soil and Water Conservation District that will probably have an aerial map available to you.
Yeah.
Does no one use keys and field guides anymore? Yes, we do. We absolutely do. As you could, I always have my freshwater invertebrate book by my desk. Dichotomous keys I did not cover today, I'm sorry. But yes, field guides and books are always helpful, but we're living in an age when we have the Library of Alexandria at our fingertips almost all the time. So I like to give a shout out to what's going on right now. What are good plant ID apps that tell you if your plant is a native? So Seek will do that, and PlantSnap, picture this, that will give you information about those plants. And a lot of that information will be, okay, where is it native? And then once you have an ID, if you really want to know, I would go back to that USDA website and look there for making sure that it is indeed that plant and that it is native.
There's
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, I'm just putting in the chat box the survey link, and hopefully it'll be redirected for everybody when they're done here. And then it'll be an email tomorrow, but I wanted to interrupt and just shout that out in the chat box. If you want to just jump to it, is the survey link. And again, all the information you provide us helps make, I see a lot of people saying it was a really great presentation this year. That is in part by all of your feedback from last year's presentation. So feel free to stick that in or go and fill out that survey. We appreciate it. Go ahead, Suzanne. I'm sorry.
So can you use a picture already on your phone to ID and Seek? Yes, you can. So you can pull up, if you give Seek permission to look at your photos, or you can go through your photos and say, I only want you to have these pictures. Then you can go back into your Seek app and it will appear in that gallery. So it's a smaller group to pull from, and then you can ID from there. So yes. Confused by the Cornell apps, bird people, right? So yes, eBird and Merlin are two different things, and Merlin is more for the IDing of the birds, and eBird is more for the uploading your count. So I know I have goldfinch, and now I will use a different site to say, yes, I have goldfinch. Let's see. Yes, so we have a list of resources that cover everything I talked about and more, and then also the presentation will be available with the list of resources on the NEOPS website. Let's see, the Doug Ptolemy project was the native plants list, right? Oh, you'd like to answer that live, or are you telling me that? Or
No,
you just
as you're answering them, I'm crossing them off.
Okay. Yeah, let me see. What was it called? Hold on.
Oh, and Rosemary reminded us that there's a resource page being posted on the website with a lot of great information on all the apps that were covered. And Suzanne, maybe you can talk about that a little bit more.
I already did, but yes, I can do that.
Sorry. Yeah.
It's fine. So
No,
yeah, on the NEOPS website, we're going to have the resources page with all of the apps and some that I didn't talk about. And then also my slides will be up there as well. The Doug Ptolemy project finder.
Say that one more time, you cut out on my end.
The native plant finder.
Okay.
So if you were an organization, then professionals may come out to assist with a BioBlitz, but and you can always reach out to, say, your OSU office or your soil and water. They can come out to your property and help you ID. I can't tell you how many times I've gone out and looked at pond weeds, and Andrew has too. We go out and we ID things for people all the time. So your own county resources are a great way of starting.
We'll ask you to send us a picture first before we come out and try and do it that way. But yeah, we like getting out in the field too.
Oh, absolutely. And Sherilyn asked if do I have a GIS app that lets me know where I am on the property? Absolutely. It is called
Explorer.
It is called GIS Explorer, ArcGIS Explorer. It's a free app, and I don't know how it is over wherever you are, but I have a map tied to my auditor's page. So it will even update property lines and things like that. And it will guide me right to it. So I know I can zoom in and see where I am. And that too, I use that app constantly.
I know some counties aren't as lucky with their auditor site having
Yeah.
that information, but it's worth
And if
checking
that's the
out.
case, if
Yeah.
that's the case, then there are several hunting apps that will tell you where you are on a property. Some of them are free. I don't have any of those because I use Explorer.
Yeah. Try to explore all your options before you pay for that. They get a lot of people to pay $5 a month for some of those property line apps when that information can a lot of times be easily accessible for free. So.
And
All
Betsy
right.
asked if there's a YouTube video for the invasive reporting app. Probably. I swear to God, YouTube has everything. You can find a video for everything.
And then you did the one with
I did, yes. So
photos already. Yeah.
and that answer is yes, you can use a picture that you've already taken.
All right. Well, if there's any other questions, put them in the chat. We'll answer them while we're signing off. But if not, we will see you at our in-person Pollinator Symposium, Summer Symposium, June 25th. And if not, then maybe we'll see you next year. It's been an honor to help facilitate some of these and moderate some of these presentations. I certainly have learned a lot, and I hope everyone else has too. Again, thank you, Suzanne, for capping off this year's presentations, and we're excited to do it again next year.